All right, we're back again with God King, A Story in the Days of Hezekiah, chapter 6. It is called Gathering Clouds. All right, here we go. No, Taharka decided. A month after his arrival, Thebes was not Napata. The king had, for example, a food taster to guard against poison. In Napata, this would have been unthinkable. What assassin would dare target the god? Taharka couldn't believe the man was in any danger, but didn't stir up trouble by getting rid of him. He had kept his word to himself. He was learning how to be the god. He was staying awake at the council meetings, asking questions, watching the faces of men who were his advisors. The Theban vizier seemed honest enough. As for the high priest of Ammon, he could not read his face, until one day he reversed one of his judgments. The commanders of the army were easy to understand. They wanted action. They looked back in longing to the days of Egypt's glory. They looked to the east and the north, where a new shadow loomed, a shadow that had once been Egypt's. A shadow that had once been Egypt's. The Assyrians? More and more often the meetings seemed to center around news of the Assyrians. A new king in power, another city threatened, the army commanders were angry. Who were these upstarts to lay claim to the world that had once bowed before Egypt? Egypt was one again. How long before she awoke from her long sleep? From the south came unsettling news brought by messengers on swift horses riding right across the desert. The great Cushite bend of the Nile. It was sad news. 3 good friends had died all at once. The priest of Horus, a man most devoted to the young Taharka, who was named for his god and choked on his food at dinner and could not be revived. The heart of Taharka's old tutor had failed, though it had never troubled him before the hour of his death. And then the vizier of Napata, a most just and honorable man, had ridden out to hunt the hippopotamus and had not ridden back again. Taharka was grieved. He had been fond of the vizier. He had remembered the patient help of his old tutor and the stories of the hawk god told by the kindly priest of Horus. He would make special offerings at their tombs when he returned to Napata. That evening he was offered a dish of the unspiced goose, considered fit for Pharaoh. He refused it. Shepnuset had smuggled in more tempting, though still forbidden, items, and he had already dined. The smuggled food saved his life. The taster had already sampled some of the goose and had noticed nothing unusual, but that night he became very ill. In the morning, he was dead. It could have been spoiled. Taharka could still not believe what had happened, though for the first time in his life he was feeling the real cold clutch of fear. Gently, soothingly, Shepnuset stroked his hand. They were together on the rooftop garden, together as often as they could be, while they could be. No, she said, he would surely have tasted that. Taharka rose suddenly. It was all becoming too much. Who was behind this horror? Who had dared? Had they been paid? At the meetings there had been talk of murders paid for by the agents of Assyrians. No, it was all too much. I can't do it, he said suddenly. It was all a mistake. How can I stand up to them, make the decisions, now not even knowing who to trust, and without you? He stopped. For that was the way things were. The marriage, the ritual, the union of the god with the divine priestess, then back to Napata, alone. We're not supposed to love each other, said Shepnuset soberly. But we do, he said bitterly, and he knew it was true. It had always been true. Yes, we have that. That's something, isn't it? No, people live with their wives. Everybody has someone to work with, make plans with, to be on his side. Everybody but us. Shepnuset, did you ever think of just running away? Almost to his surprise, Shepnuset said, yes. We could do it. Nobody knows our faces. I could work on the docks. My grandfather built boats. You are not your grandfather, said Shepnuset quietly. You are the God King. In Napada, the grizzled soldier Mbuta knelt before the image of the serpent god. It was his favorite. It reminded him of the carved wooden image in the far-off, long-ago jungles of his childhood. For some reason, those faraway forests had been much in his mind that day. The village, its narrow lanes teeming with goats and fowl, his father, the boat builder, the joyous trips down the Zambezi to the market town on the eastern sea, the cargoes of oil and fish and palm wine, his little sister with her big curious eyes and her love of stories. The happy days of yesteryear, the days now were not happy. The stories of the Assyrians, the whispering of men who now surrounded the god's companions, always silence when he appeared, the arrogance of the companion himself. Should he warn his nephew? Of what should he caution him? In the shadows, a dark figure hovered, a dagger gleaming in its hand. That's the end of chapter 6. But you guys might want to pay a little close attention to all of these men that were very close to the god, Taharka, were killed or somehow died very quickly, all in the same time. And it does seem like Taharka's companion. And who is that? Do we remember who his companion is? Shabada, right? Shabada wants to be the god. Shabada wants to be king. And it seems like maybe him and the people around him are making decisions to try to get rid of everybody close to Taharka, and maybe even Taharka himself, right? Because we saw that Taharka's food bearer or food taster died after tasting something that was supposed to be for the king. So keep those things in mind as we keep on going. Chapter 7 coming soon.